The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker, our weekly update with Orlondo Steinauer, head coach, vice president of football operations. Coach, you guys got the second win, man. Congratulations. How is it to be 2 wins under the belt now?
Well, shoot, before you can get 3, you got to get 2. It feels, anytime you win, Luke, it's not an easy task, and it feels good. And, I thought everybody just chipped in. And, it's been exciting on our 2 wins, and even at times on the ones where we haven't been on the winning side. But, it's not how you get it done. It's just the way that it's just the fact that you get it done.
Yeah, right. Nobody remembers anything except for the check mark in the win column after a few weeks go by.
There you go.
Coach, the defensively to start with the game last weekend at Tim Hortons Field, especially the first quarter. I mean, I thought the Ticats defense had maybe one of the best quarters that we've seen at least this season. Unbelievably challenging field position for them throughout the quarter. I mean, the ball, for no real blame on the Ticats, the ball stayed in the Ticats' end of the field for almost the entire quarter, and only 6 points allowed in the first half. What can you say about Mark Washington's defense?
Well, shoot, I think the element that maybe people don't understand is the wind. And just how you have to kind of weather that storm. There's the game within the game, and all too well, having played on that field numerous times, that there is a little strategy that goes with that, and you kind of have to, not let the other team make hay, if you will, when they have the wind, and that includes giving them maybe 4 or 5 field goals in a quarter, or whatever that may look like. So, I thought the defense stood up, and I think in the first 3 possessions, they were some kind of ridiculous stat like 10 yards or something odd like that, and that's phenomenal. That's not something that you can bank on. And, Mark and his staff work extremely hard, Randy and Robin and Joaquin, and, of course, Craig Butler still has a small little hand in that. And I just think that they responded the way that a team whose back was against the wall should respond.
Yeah, the at least one notable drive where the Alouettes had net negative yardage in total on the drive. I mean, some really impressive stuff. Back out of field goal range after making it into field goal range. The front 4, and call it the front 7. I mean, you can throw your linebackers in there as well, but I mean, just unbelievable performance. Getting sacks, especially in that first quarter, like we said. Are those guys sort of finding their stride right now?
Well, we'll see. I'm a big quote guy, and I do believe that, consistency is better than rare moments of greatness. And we're looking for the consistency. But I would say that, they established it early, and I felt that, Trevor didn't look completely comfortable. I think getting the gut pressure from the internal 3, whether it be at Teddy and, obviously Micah and Dylan, those guys did a fantastic job. And I thought on the edge we did a great job of just keeping the pocket the pocket. And, it's always a team effort. When you cover well, the D-line looks great. And when the D-line is winning consistently, DB's coverage looks really good also. So just proud of those guys. I hope they're hitting their stride, Luke, but, we look to be consistent, and, and there's a lot of games left to play. We definitely haven't arrived, but all we can control is last week, and we handled our business.
You mentioned the coverage, and notably Cariel Brooks was back in the lineup. Any praises for Cariel after that performance? From the booth, we were singing his praises. I mean, he was noticed out there, and certainly had a positive impact on the game.
Well, as a general statement, you feel players out there. You feel their presence, and you definitely felt Cariel out there. And And, I think he'd be the first to tell you. Left a couple out there, and that's spoken like a true coach. But you want to talk about making the majority of the plays that came his way. And, we're big on that here, Luke, just, play opportunities versus plays made. And I think that he graded out quite high in that area.
Coach, first time the Ticats have come out on top of the turnover ratio in a game, including turnovers on downs. What do you say to your team? It obviously impacted the game that they were able to not turn the ball over any more than they did in the game. Had an impact. Is that a great coaching moment for you to finally have tangible evidence of that?
Absolutely, especially because it is one of those analytic stats that I think has withstood the test of time, and I think it always varies depending on how high of a percentage it is when you win that battle, whether you want to call it turnover or takeaway battle. And I think this just supported that. No matter how close the game may have been, it still is going to be error on the side of, we won that battle and we also won the game. So, yeah, it does feel good because it's an area of emphasis, but you can only do so much as coaches. Drills are drills, but, we still would like the one back, and, Steven was, off. And, obviously the player made a great play from Montreal, big hit, and we didn't hold on to it there. So, we got bailed out on one that Tim, I guess they had ruled incomplete. So there's work to be done. We don't ignore those. We always address the elephant in the room. But at the same time, we're always going to celebrate victories, but only for a short while, and then we get back to work.
There's a maybe I call it a category of players on every team, Coach, that probably don't get their name in a broadcast or in a podcast each week. Guys like Nick Cross and Curtis Newton, and there's some notable special teams players that you guys do not have in the lineup, and the injury bug makes its way around every team, but maybe the weakest special teams performance by your team so far, and that's a unit that's been performing pretty well from at least an outsider's perspective. What can you say about some of those guys like Nick Cross who are out of the lineup and maybe are being missed after a game like the one against Montreal this past weekend?
Well, with no disrespect to the other professionals, on our roster that we'll be counting on, you take off two key ingredients like Nick Cross and Curtis Newton, who were voted captains, some might not know, by their teammates. Mm-hmm. And that just shows you the growth. Not that it's not important if coaches vote on it, but I've always, preferred that the players select who they want to represent them. And, when you lose two captains, even though that's just a title, it does tell you, A, their production, B, their commitment and preparation, and just how committed they are to being great teammates. And when you take those out of the lineup, along with their production, you're oftentimes dealt a blow. But that is, they got an opportunity and made the most of it. So I'm looking forward to who gets those other opportunities moving forward. But, they'll be missed. But I know that if you sat them down on there, they would say they'll be the number one fans for whoever's in their spots and wearing their cleats. And will expect us to win and perform at a high level.
We've talked about before how it's easier and much more enjoyable maybe to correct mistakes when you've got a win behind you, as opposed to having to correct them coming off of a loss. And part of the story has been the fourth quarters for your team. Now you get, yes, another fourth quarter that probably wasn't exactly how you would have liked it, but you get to correct that after a win at least. And what is your coaching point? How are you addressing your fourth quarters, or are you with your players?
It's just about finishing. It's just clean like that. And, each game, it's not like you can have a cookie cutter model to that, because each game, maybe it was the offense, maybe it was special teams. Maybe we took a 15-yard penalty. Maybe we held it the wrong time. So it's about, without giving away our inside stuff, but you'll understand this, and, it's about cabbie. That's what it is. Every play requires some level of focus and execution along the way, and that's really what it is. And we can always hang our hat on that, and that's why we have those type of sayings and things in our organization, because you need to go to your foundational and fundamental principles or core values when things matter the most. And it's not bigger than that. You don't reinvent something and say, oh, well, in this, you do this. No, it always is going to come down to the call, and it's going to finish with the execution. So, we address it, but I think the difference is obviously we found a way to win the close one versus be on the other side. And it's going to be different each week. And, it'd be nice, when you were around and, we had some 30-3 halftime scores and some stuff where it was, those were layups or basically slam dunks. And, you'd love to have those. But each year your team's a little bit different. And, to complain about winning, that's going to be hard for me or us to do around here.
The difference in this game to me, some of the defining moments that sort of put a stop to the bleed in the fourth quarter. Obviously, you had a defensive turnover on downs, which was a huge moment. And then also, it stuck out to me, Braylon Addison's first down back in your end. And it was at a moment where if he doesn't get that first down, there is still enough time, and you're at such a field position where a good punt return is going to maybe change things for the Alouettes. And so that to me was the play of the game. Can you speak to Braylon Addison's in that moment? Is he the guy that that Tommy Condell that you are wanting to put the ball in his hands when it's all down to that play?
I think we'd be crazy to not have him as a 1A option on that. I mean, he's proven time and time again to be able to come through. I think you can even point to a 2nd and 10 diving catch against Ottawa when we were backed up heading, towards Bernie Custis Secondary School, heading that way. He made an unbelievable catch there. And then, of course, the one when he dove and kept it up and kept his arms underneath it here last week, to the one you're referring to where there was no challenge or wondering if. And, he'd be the first to say he would want that. And I would be the first to say I expect him a lot like I would, you won't want to talk about it, but I would expect Luke Tasker to make those same plays when I was coaching. Like there's just a certain level of comfort, not because of the name, but because you watch people practice and prepare. And that doesn't mean other people aren't deserving of those opportunities. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I was never shocked when Luke Tasker or Braylon Addison or whoever that person is that year would make those catches, because there's a level of comfort both in the coaches and the quarterbacks. And I think, amongst ourselves on the team, your teammates, you build up a level of trust too. And I think Jalen Ackland was worthy of some of those maybe a year or two ago also. Yeah.
You said that so right about Braylon too. It's not just the catch, it's how unquestionable he makes it. It's that body language and that position of a wide receiver to catch the ball and make sure that he has body between the football and the turf, when he hits the ground. And it was just impressive and not an easy catch to make. It's just that was a defining moment, I thought, for the team to turn the hardships of that game into a victory instead of a loss.
You know what? I'm going to interrupt on that. I'm going to interrupt, and I'm going to say, and I'm going to pump your tires, and I'm going to pump Braylon's just a little bit more, because I think that's something that's interesting that people wouldn't understand, is that players that you go to in that situation, they're not tough catches because the expectation level is high. And that's just what it is. For some people they may be, but I would say that for like people like yourselves and even twos and those guys, there's just certain guys that it doesn't matter if the ball's low. You just flip your window and you make it. It doesn't matter if the ball's high. It's all opportunity. And I think that's something that's kind of hard to explain. It's just kind of something that if you just get it in the area, it's going to be complete. It's kind of just that simple.
Yeah, I agree. And it looks to me like, Braylon's trust jar with Luke Tasker was very, very high as we were teammates together. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me, though I didn't have any experience with Stephen Dunbar, Tim White, and that younger group of guys that are now in that room, but it seems like you've got some guys coming up and are filling up the trust jar as well, making big plays when it matters. And you never know at the place it is in the East right now, and the time in the season, there's still 2/3 almost ahead of you. That it seems like a group that maybe trending in the right direction, and that is towards being a winning effort for the team. But I appreciate the praise from you, Coach. It's all that's the big catches at big moments in the games are the thing that maybe one of the things I miss the most about it, making those difference making catches.
Hard to replicate that at home or in the park.
It's much easier when your defenders are a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Actually, yeah, I make every catch now.
Awesome.
Coach, Matt Shiltz and Dane Evans. It's just an interesting dynamic, and I just can't help but think about Jeremiah Mazzoli and Dane Evans. Can you speak to maybe what are you expecting? What can the fans expect in the games to come with those guys?
Well, each game plan will be a little bit different, but we have full confidence in Dane, and we also have we're earning more and more confidence in Matt. He's such a student of the game, a likable guy, a natural leader, a lot like Dane was when he was quote unquote behind Jeremiah. And so I would expect that Matt would play some reps. How much is always different from game to game. Sometimes we're going to go off of our gut and just. If he's in there on a short yardage, maybe we'll keep him in. And, we did have a plan to play him a little bit more than we thought, more than we had in the previous games going in. But we still didn't know exactly what that would look like. We know Dane will take the bulk of the reps, but I think there is a place for Matthew to get in there. Yeah,
interesting dynamic, and they both seem to, for some reason, do well with the shared time. The one down in a long stretch of East games here, and now you go back-to-back with Toronto. Of course, you have a 9-day week now with the game this Saturday, and that'll be followed by a shorter week with Toronto. Is this sort of what's the coaching strategy with this back-to-back sort of hockey-style rivalry showdown here?
Well, I think it'll unveil itself over time, but obviously we want to be as fresh as we can, but at the same time get our work in, and we know that the majority of the prep will be done this week, and to make sure you have enough bullets in the gun while not saving too many, just because you're playing a team, 4 times in 5 weeks. Obviously you're going to go out to win every single game, and, points are going to matter and all those things. But I think the main thing is just to keep it like a regular work week, not make it bigger. Enjoy the sport entertainment value of it, though, and the hype and the added
sure.
Media attention to it. I think that's fun. But at the same time, at the ground level and in between these walls, there's no extra minutes. There's no bigger end zones. The field's not any wider. It's still going to come down to the execution of the football game. But to sit here and say, well, it's just another one, it is when it comes to just the actual game. But there's always going to be more distractions, not negative, but more distractions when you're playing the double blue.
Yeah. Do you expect is your game plan going to be cumulative, progressive as these weeks go on? You take some things away and put some things in as you see more and as you show more to Toronto?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely progress. And you always put together a game plan. This will be the first time in a regular season that we faced them. Obviously, you watch the film and you think there's some things that you may be able to exploit, but sometimes you get in the game and it's not quite as good as it was on a napkin or in practice. And so you have to be able to adjust. So I think making in-game adjustments will be of the utmost importance also, and I think that's not just true of this week, but the weeks moving forward.
Brandon Banks, Coach.
Yeah.
Good buddy of mine, obviously. Speedy B and I, our first week in Hamilton was the same. We came in halfway through the 2013 season. You were the defensive coordinator at the time. You and I both have a long history with Speedy B. Does it excite you to be that he's back on the field though in an entirely different capacity? Does it? Are you guys talking about him in meetings, or is he just a faceless, nameless opponent?
No, I mean, Speedy's, he's earned and deserves the recognition that he's received. And, I'm happy for Speedy that he found a place and, hopefully he's happy there and doing his thing. And, obviously he's found the end zone a few times and it makes me smile to see him back there returning again. He's so dynamic and, he's obviously a future Hall of Famer in this league. So nothing but respect for Brandon and just him wanting to continue his career and obviously for everything that he did for the Hamilton organization. And he definitely made me a better D coordinator and made us all kind of better coaches, no matter if he was wearing 87 or 16. He was I would tease him a little bit, and I'd say he was just a little bit faster in 87 than he was in 16, and that's really saying something.
Yeah, that's right. That Guelph return is always is a CFL classic now.
Wow.
Well, cool. It's the first of many matchups with Toronto to come this Saturday at 7 p.m. in Toronto. And listeners, don't forget, you can catch all of the week of prep on the Ticats audio network, including the game day broadcast with RJ Broadhead and myself. That'll begin right after the pregame show this Saturday. You can catch the pregame show starting at 6 p.m. This episode of the Coach O Show is sponsored by Turkstra Lumber. Do it yourself does not mean do it alone. Visit TurkstraLumber.com to learn more. They have a project coach that can help you with all kinds of home renovating needs. Anything you want on Turkstra.com, you'll be able to find it, whether it's kitchen, bathroom, front door, windows. Turkstra's got you covered. Coach, congrats on the win. Best of luck in the week of prep going into the Long East stretch. Or into the Long East stretch now, but we'll talk to you next week after this first one against Toronto.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke.
All the best.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats audio network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.